Well, hello, my lovelies. It's Janet Perez with the Painted Saguaro coming to you with Paint Couture paints to show you how I created this piece. I want to call it a tortoiseshell finish. At least that's the finished look that I'm going for here, and it was my inspiration was a tortoise shell that I saw recently at an antique store that was really beautiful. So the first thing I did was I cleaned the entire piece with Fresh Start. I rinsed it with a vinegar water 50-50 mix, and now I'm giving the entire piece a coat of pitch black mineral acrylic paint. If you've never used our paint, gosh, I hope that you will try it. This paint has such amazing coverage, you guys, and one coat of this black, and it is the most true black I've ever used. I absolutely love it. So a thorough coat over the entire piece, and then I'm going to let it dry thoroughly once that's completed. The sides, the top I'm not painting. I'm going to do a wash on that, and I'm not going to show you how I do that because I've shown you how to do a paint wash on a top before. So for time's sake, I'm going to skip that part. So here I grabbed some of our Polynesian Pink, and I'm just using a smaller artist paintbrush, and I'm winging it on this technique. You guys, I've never done anything like this before to achieve this look, so I'm just kind of going with the flow here and trying to come up with how I'm going to achieve the tortoiseshell look. I noticed in the shell that I looked at, there was a lot of varied colors. There was some kind of greenish blues, there was some reds, and there was some yellowish oranges in it. So I didn't grab those colors. I grabbed brighter colors because what I'm going to do is mute those quite a bit with the techniques that I'm going to be doing. The color I'm applying here now is Moxie by the Sea. And I'm just putting these on in sort of a jigsaw puzzle pattern on the front of this. I'm not overlapping the colors at all. The yellow here that you see me grabbing is lemon peel yellow. And again, these are all from our mineral acrylic paint line. And I'm not putting as much of the lemon peel on just simply because it is such a bright color and I want it to be sort of a muted background color. And you'll see too, I painted the base at this point, but I'm going to end up covering that because I decided I didn't like the pattern on the base. So I apologize. I have no idea what stencil this is. I've had it for a very long time, but it's just a busy pattern, and any kind of busy pattern stencil that you might have will work. And what I'm doing here is I'm mixing about a 50-50 mix of pitch black with carbon because I don't want the same dark black over all this that I have beneath it. I want it to be slightly lighter. So I'm stenciling over the entire piece with that carbon pitch black combination mixture. And you'll see that it still looks very, very bright. And again, I'm winging it on this technique. So I'm learning, and you're kind of watching me as I'm learning and kind of figuring out the process as I go. And that's the best way to kind of come up with new ideas, is just experiment and go with it and figure out what works and what doesn't work. Take a step back, take a look at it, see what you like, see what you don't like. And that's why I painted the base here, because I did not like the color on the base. And I realized too that I couldn't really stencil that base because even though you can't see it and it kind of looks flat here, it's got very distinct ridges on it that you really can't lay a stencil into. And so I just decided to leave the base solid. So there you saw me spritz, and I spritzed with a vinegar water mixture. And I always keep 2 bottles of that filled in my studio. And this is while that carbon and pitch black mixture is still slightly wet. I let it dry just a little bit, but not very much. And I'm dragging a chip brush over it to sort of reactivate it a little bit and mute those bright colors that I added beneath. So you can still see the stencil pattern, but it's just muting it and deadening it a little bit to sort of make it work into the background and sort of create it as a background color. Now this color is Night Sky. It's a really beautiful, almost blackish blue. And I'm going over the entire piece again over with the stencil. And I'm doing this Night Sky blue over the entire piece. Except for the base. I'm going to paint the base the same color, but I'm not going to stencil, obviously, the base. And this will just sort of give it some more depth. You won't really see that blue so much when everything's said and done. It doesn't jump out at you. It's because it kind of blends in with the black and the charcoal colors. But it just helps sort of blend those, the Moxie by the Sea, the Polynesian Pink, and the lemon peel, and make it quite not so bright. And to me, it's starting to really look like tortoiseshell. This metallic paint is our bronze Lux Metallic that I'm putting into the recesses in this piece. I also painted it around the upper outer trim of the top, which, as I said, I'm going to do the pitch black paint wash up on that and then seal it with some hemp oil. I love sealing tops with hemp oil because it's very water resistant and it's very durable, and it just creates the most beautiful rock hard, nice shine finish. Going around the top edges of these drawers, and you can see here I'm kind of using my finger to sort of smudge that bronze to make it have sort of a drippy, smudgy, aged effect. Because I want this chest to look older, and with what I'm going to do next, it will really help draw out the, I'm going to add some Crackle. It's not a secret, but I wanted that sort of drippy metallic look on this so that it looks like an older chest made out of tortoiseshell, right? So I'm just kind of working that metallic paint into the edges, giving it that sort of drippy effect there. And that's completely random, up to you. You can spritz it a little bit if you want it to drip down naturally. I like smearing it on a piece like this instead of dripping it because I don't, and I know I've said this before, I don't really like drips so much on most pieces. Sometimes it's appropriate, but for me, I would prefer to have it sort of a smudge look than a drippy look. So you can see I'm just dragging it down on all of the drawers in different various spots, so it looks very random and very natural. And the metallic paints that Paint Couture creates are just gorgeous. I enjoy using them so much. Here I'm adding some of that same bronze to the hardware so that it ties in with everything. And you'll see at the end, the hardware that I use on this piece, I just got that on Amazon, and it was pretty inexpensive because this had that bat wing hardware that I hate. I've got probably 3,000 batwing drawer pulls somewhere in my studio that I'll never figure out what to do with them. I've tried to sell them. I've tried to repurpose them. I've repurposed a few, but gosh, I'll never use them all. So if anybody needs batwing drawer pulls, let me know. Most of them are brass. Here I'm taking just that sandpaper and I'm just sort of scuffing it because with all those layers, I do have some, spots that I wanted to smooth out because people like to rub their hand over your furniture, and it's just a natural thing for people to do, is to run their hand over the furniture. And if it doesn't feel smooth to the touch, even if it's a textured piece, they're not going to like it. Okay, so this is our Crackle step 1. And the thicker you put it on, the bigger the crack you're going to get. I like to sort of vary the thickness on a piece like this, where some of it's going to be small, fine line crack, and some of it's going to be a really nice thick crack, or wider crack. So, and you don't want it to dry too terribly long. You need it to dry for about 30 to 45 minutes until it comes to tack. So I'm just making sure that I cover everything with this and getting good even coverage, but you don't want to overwork it either. So once you put it down, you want to kind of stop. You don't want to drag your brush over it overly much, or else you will kind of mess up the process. So once that's all applied, and I do this to the sides as well. The sides are done exactly the same way I'm doing the front of this piece. So you can see that's dry because it's now clear again. This is the Crackle step 2. And this is really thick. It's like molasses. And it goes on, as you can see, in sort of a milky fashion. And once it's dry, it will start cracking. This is like a varnish, and so it has a very high sheen as well. If you don't like that high sheen, after you've added your dark glaze or whatever glaze you want to add to draw out those crack lines, you can paint over it with a matte finish or whatever sheen, a satin finish, if you don't like that high shine finish. I typically paint over it with a satin or a matte, just because I don't like high shine finishes on most of my pieces of furniture. But again, get nice even coverage. You don't want it too thick. You don't want it too thin. You don't want to overwork it. You just want to get it on and then let it dry. And you can speed up the process of the Crackle by using a heat gun, but I don't recommend that. I recommend that you just let it dry naturally and let it dry for, at least 8 hours. And then you'll come back and you'll see those cracks, and you'll see it's really gives you a beautiful crackle effect. And there I'm just kind of cleaning up where it kind of coagulated in the edges. So now I've got the Crackle in there. You can't see it because I haven't done anything to draw it out yet. But what I'm doing here is I'm using some gold glaze, and I'm just putting that over the entire piece. It's gold brocade glaze, and it's another Paint Couture product. So I put it on, I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I rub it back off. And that's going to work into those fine crack lines to really kind of enhance the crackle on this piece and just take it to the next level of that tortoiseshell finish that I'm looking to achieve here. And when I use our glazes, I like to mix. You can see I added a little tiny bit of water to it. I like to add a little bit of water because it just gives me a little more open time with the glaze. I mean, obviously, glaze allows you to work with it longer than a paint will normally. But because I do so much creative painting, sometimes I tend to take longer. I mean, you're watching everything in 4 times speed, and it's edited and cut. And so I like to add water to it just so that I have enough open time and it doesn't dry on me too quickly. And when I say add a little water, I'm talking like maybe a teaspoon of water to a 1/4 cup of glaze. Now this is our black chiffon glaze, and it's another amazing glaze. And I'm just kind of putting this over the gold areas a little bit because obviously the gold over the gold isn't going to show the crackle. So the black chiffon over the gold will draw out the crackle in those areas, and also just sort of add some shading to the recessed areas in there. So that's what I'm doing there. And here's a close-up of that crackle so you can see it with that gold in there. Again, that hardware is from Amazon. And I'm pleased with it. I think it looks sort of like the tortoiseshell finish that I was looking to achieve. It turned out the way I wanted it to, and I think it turned out really pretty. It's a different finish for sure. So let me know what you think. If you love it, give me a thumbs up. If you hate it, tell me you hate it. I don't care. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the piece. And I appreciate you guys being here as always. I am grateful for every single one of you that watch my videos, and I look forward to catching you next time and having you catch me on my next video. Thanks for joining me, and take care.